After we had the cloning for the two servers, SRV1, SRV02, and another identical DC1 EX1, the DC1 EX1 for the Exchange server 2010, and the SRV01, SRV02 for Windows Server 2008, released to Enterprise. So, after we configured the IP and changed the name, I'm gonna show you how this had been done. This is server 2. We're gonna log in with administrator, and the password I created when I was logged in for the first time, it was password capital P small a 2 double sign capital P 0RD, while the SRV I choose to log in normally. So Alt Control delete and delete. I'm not log in with administrator, I'm gonna log in with Ahmed. I'm gonna show you why I logged in with Ahmed with the server 1, because it will give me an error when I try to install the Active Directory. But first we need to know how we configure the IP address here and change the name. To configure the IP address, you need to go to Configure Networking, right click on Local Area Networking, Properties, then IP6, you remove IP6, and IP4 double click on it and type the IP. The same procedure between server 01, server 02 will be the same. However, only the IP address of server 1 will be 192.168.0.1, and the DNS will be the same 192.168.0.1, because server 1 will be acting as the DNS server, while in server 2, let's check the configuration network, right click, properties to change it, remove the IP6, already removed, IP4 double click. I already did that manually, 192.168.0.2, because this is a different server, while however the DNS is 1 because server number 1, this one, server 1, that what we call it server 1, is our DNS server. Okay, so now both servers are just a work group, so we need to create a domain. So which domain will be created over the server number 1 will be our domain controller. So we need to install DC Promo, which is Active Directory. To install Active Directory, you need to go to Start, and this here under Run, just type DC Promo, and this will start the Active Directory procedure with the DNS attached to it. Okay, after that Active Directory installed, DNS also installed, this machine will not be group anymore. See, this is a work group. See, work group is a work group. When the Active Directory installed, it will not be a work group. And we'll go to server 2, and we will add this work group to be a part of the domain, which will be created from within the server 1. So we just need to wait for the server 1. See, go to next. It says here, is it an existing domain or forest, or create a new forest? Let's create a new forest because this is a new infrastructure. Oops, here an error, because I am logged in with Ahmed. So if I am logged with administrator, if I logged out here, log off Ahmed, and log with administrator, Control Alt Delete. If I use the Control Alt Delete of this keyboard, it will stop everything here. So let's go to administrator, and since I was not prompted for a password, so it asked me for the administrator password to be inserted for the first time. Now I can choose the same password or change it as you wish, but you have to remember it. If you forget it, no problem. There are many ways to return it back, to clear it. Password, capital P is small, double S door style, capital W 0RD, enter. Now it has been changed. Okay, now it's been in. So we'll see what will happen next. Okay, now after we put the password for the server 1, we insert the password, and the server 2 is here. It should be up and running. We're gonna go back to server 2 later. Okay, let's install now the DC promo, which was not activated when we logged in with Ahmed. And let's see with which person we are logged in right now. Now it is administrator, not Ahmed. Okay, so now let's type DC promo and see if it will work this time or not. Next, create a new forest. Yeah, this time passed. Now it asks me for the full equality domain name, and we're gonna type, for example, my domain dot local is gonna be a local network. Okay, see server 2 is working or no. So let's start it. Okay, now it's working. Server 1. Okay, now it says give you information if the forest functionality, if you, for example, if you have an old domain or old forest which contain some domains or one domain or whatever. If you use 2003, what will happen? If you use 2000, what the conflict or what the information, 2008, what information or what feature you might have. Here we're gonna use 2008 release 2, and we give you information also. You might read it just to have it in your background, what's going on there. Click on next. It comes to the second point. It will install DNS automatically. You can uninstall, you can uncheck this if you have already the DNS server installed on another server. At that time, I don't think that you're gonna create a new forest, you're gonna join an existing forest. So that's why this option is here. So we click next as well. Click yes. It will create the sysvold ntds, which are folders and files related to the Active Directory. And the password, I'm going to use the same password for myself. You can use any other password if you want. You can use any other password. Now it is creating the Active Directory. We will wait until it's created and it is done. Now, after the Active Directory has been installed, we click Finish. It will restart now. If you remember, it was work group. It was a work group, and the full name it was SRV-01, and the IP is 01. This is 02 SRV02 work group. This is for server number 2. Let's see what will happen in server number 1, which is our main domain controller, our DNS server. And let's wait for the password. Now applying computer settings. It's Windows Server 2008 Enterprise. It might take a little time. Everything takes some time, and that differs from a laptop to another. Depends on your RAM, depends on your processor, depends on your hard drive. It is a SSD, normal 5400 speed RPM, or 7200 speed, or 7200 speed with 6 gig speed, which is almost the same performance of SSD. So many issues affect the performance and the speed of application and the speed of the installation. I'm still waiting for this to be finished. Now it is Alt Control Delete. Type the password. See, it is now my domains. Okay, password, the one you choose for your administrator. No, it's not what I'm writing. Now see my domain. Logged in. Let's check. The worker group IP. Now here is a domain. See, change to my domain.local once I install the Active Directory, and here is still on the worker group. So now it is my domain.local, and now let's check if it has the sysvol. Let's /, srv-01. Yes, here is the sysvol and then it log. So Active Directory had been installed. Now let's go to the next step to check if the DNS is also installed and it's working as a fully function or not. Administrative tools, DNS. Yes, DNS has been installed. Before installing DNS Active Directory, you will not find its DNS or any Active Directory here. Now I want to check the IP address that I told you it might be different. No, sorry, not the IP address, the DNS. See here the IP address 192.168.0.1. Go to the configure network. Let's have right click on status. See the details. What is the gateway? Gateway is removed. Go to the server 02, which it was the same situation, identical, except for the number 0 was 1. Here DNS 192.168.0.1 as is, has not been changed, while here it has been changed, it has been removed. So what is it? Let's go to properties, IP4. It has been turned to 127.0.0.1, and this is what Active Directory does when it is installed for the first time. So I have to rewrite it, retype it 192.168.0.1, and because Active Directory was installed only this machine, it has reset the loop back of that network card. And let's go to the command prompt and type ns lookup. Yeah, it has been now 192.168.0.1. However, the default server is unknown. To resolve this thing, and default server would be right, we have to go to DNS server, to the DNS, and here is a forward. My domain.local is in the forward. In the reverse, there's nothing in the reverse lookup, so I have to add a new zone in the reverse, and it should be a primary zone. This is a fresh installation of infrastructure. It is to all DNS servers. We don't have any previous DNS server installed. We are using IP4, we are not using IP6, and our network ID 192.168.0. Next, allow for domain, finish. Now it is there, however it's not yet affected. Let's check now ns back. Still not there. In order to effective, we have to type this command of ipconfig/flush DNS. It means reset the DNS. Okay, then after flush, register the DNS, get me the new DNS once. I'm waiting to say successfully as it did here. Now this is registering. Let's go to ns lookup. Yes, now it's my server domain, server 01 my domain.local. Now I can now join this server, which currently a part of a work group, into the domain. I go to here and change, but this time we're not going to change the name, we're going to be a part of the domain. Before there was no domain, so I cannot type any domain. Now here is a domain, so I can type my domain, and I can type only my domain or my domain.local. Both are the same, but I have to enter the administrative password, administrator, and the password of the administrator sorry, in order to make this server part of the domain, or any other workstation or terminal part of the domain. Not yet. Now it is welcome to the domain. Okay, restart, close, restart. Remember, it was a rookie group. We'll see after it opens what will happen. Here is the reverse lookup. It's already installed a new reverse, and this one is here. Everything should be fine so far. Close this, check for this part. After we finish this, we need, because the administrator is a very famous person, we need to disable the administrator. So we need to create another, let's Control Alt Delete. We're gonna create another administrator by your name or any other name. See, it is now srv-0 administrator. Yeah, log in through my domain. Yes, it's gonna be administrator. Make sure it is login to the domain. No, it should be look here, it was srv-02. Make sure it is my domain. If you didn't type that, you're gonna be part of your local machine, not a part from your there's a spelling mistake here. My domain, sorry, domain. Now it is a domain. Yes, it's apart from there for the server too. Last part before installing the Exchange, we have to disable the administrator, as I mentioned before. And after disabling the administrator, or before disabling the administrator, we can clone this server and the other one for the Exchange, because in the Exchange we need to install the Active Directory and DNS with the same installations. So to save time, we can clone these two servers after installing the Active Directory, and we'll continue for the DC1 and the EXE1. However, that for the DC1 you need to change the domain name according to the corresponding book, and this you cannot do it unless you install the Active Directory from the scratch with the same procedure as we did it with the server one, but with taking into consideration that the name or the title of the domain would be different. But if you're going to use the same domain name and the same configuration, so there's no way that you don't have to reinstall it again on the DC1. Okay, now we need to copy the administrator, and let's go to the administrative tools and computers, users and computers. Here, this one, we copy the administrator as a user to create another one, users. Here is users, administrator, right click. Before disable the account, I make another copy and I put the username, which is, for example, user admin, and I can add here user admin. Click on next, type the password, or it could be any other password or the same password as you wish, but it should, and password never expires, and the user must change the password at next the first login. No, you don't have to do that. Click next. So by the way, this way is very effective in real life in production environment, that when you, for example, you have two employees, they are accessing the same resources except they have different username and email address. So you can, for example, go to Ahmed, right click and copy Ahmed and insert or type the name of his colleague, which he has access to the same resources except his username and password. So if it's like that, you can use this in real life, and you're going to use it too many times when the employees are changed or you have any turnover in the company. Before disabling the administrative, I need to make sure the admin is working. So let's log off from this server. I'm gonna test it from the both servers. Okay, Alt Control Delete. Instead of this administrator, switch user, another user. Make sure it is my domain, not srv0, and type user admin. For the username, it's not case sensitive, only case sensitive for the password. Make sure the password is written right, it's typed right. Yes, it worked. Make sure also from the server 2, log off from server 2, which should be another machine on the same network, and see if still the same administrator can access all the resources as well. I'll Control Delete. Instead administrator, see here is my domain. It could be another local, my domain. Type user admin, and as I mentioned, username is not case sensitive, only the password is a case sensitive. Yeah, so now I can go to server 1 and I can start programs, administrative tools here, Active Directory user on computers. Now I can disable the administrator account to avoid any hacking in the future, and I have here Ahmed administrator, and the copy user admin is the same copy of the administrator privileges and everything. Now if you want to install the Exchange server, before installing the Exchange server, all you need to do the same procedure exactly. All you need to do is just when you go to the FQDN screen, just type the other name which is relative or related to your book that you study from, and it should be the same for everything. Thank you, and we'll meet you on the Exchange installation.